Hello, my friends. This is Tosif back with a new live stream, and it is 10:32 p.m. here in Madison, Wisconsin, which is in the central time zone. And as you can tell, this is actually a little later than my usual live streaming time. I usually start my live streams at around 9 p.m., sometimes a little early, sometimes a little late, but this is later than usual. So I appreciate anyone who has tuned in. There are two important things I want to discuss, and obviously I'm um, open to discussing anything that you would like to talk about, and that's why I encourage you to share your thoughts, your comments in the live chat window. So we're past 1 minute so far. If you are joining, please say hello. Say hello in the chat window. Write something. Write your name. Write the state, the city that where you're from. Ask a question. Share your thoughts. And I would appreciate that. So, my friends, I'm going to wait for 30 more seconds. I see more people have joined. Kevin McMillan writes, "Hello, Virginia." All right, so you're from Virginia, Kevin. Thank you. Kevin, is this your first time tuning in to my live stream? If it is, please let me know. And it's good to have you here, Kevin. Thank you so much. Kevin writes, "Yes, sir." Well, wonderful. Kevin, welcome. Welcome to my live stream. I have been doing live stream since January. I try to do one every day, and sometimes I miss a day or two. But I try to be here pretty regularly. So Kevin, welcome to this live stream. My friend Terry from South Dakota is here. Terry is a freedom-loving American. She lives in South Dakota, and she's here joining us in this live stream. I appreciate you all being here. And Kevin, welcome once again. So I'm going to start the discussion, my friends. I have told you before, if you remember, if you've been following my channel, if you've watched my videos, if you've joined my live stream before, you know that I've talked about this before. I have said that the world is seeing more chaos than before. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of unrest in this world, all over the world, in different places. And the reason I'm mentioning it again today is because the situation in Haiti is pretty bad. Have you read about what's going on in Haiti, the Caribbean nation of Haiti? The situation there is really rough. I mean, it's really bad. Haiti is a Caribbean nation, and I have heard that it's a beautiful place. I mean, the Caribbean islands, the places are very beautiful, lots of natural beauty. But Haiti, the Caribbean nation, is going through tremendous violence and unrest. My friend Terry is writing, Haiti is in turmoil. That describes Haiti. Thanks, Terry. That is exactly the way, if you want to describe Haiti in one sentence, in a few words, you're just going to say, as my friend Terry said, Haiti is in turmoil, okay? And honestly, I don't know the history of Haiti, okay? I have not read the history of Haiti, the history of the country, but I'm following the news of what's going on there right now. And it's very obvious that the country is not a safe place to visit, okay? If anyone's thinking about visiting Haiti, well, it's not a good idea, all right? The capital of Haiti, reportedly, is now full of gangs, violent gangs, powerful gangs in the capital of Haiti. And there have been various attacks. I mean, just search for the news. Just look up the news reports. There have been various attacks. I mean, think about the capital of Haiti, the capital of a nation, full of powerful gangs, attacks taking place, and people have been hurt. People have been hurt. And this week, Okay, this week the United States evacuated non-essential personnel from the US embassy in Haiti. All right? I mean, this should tell you something about what's going on. I mean, you don't need to be a political scientist. You don't need to be an expert in the history of Haiti. You don't need to be somebody who understands the dynamics, the politics, and the culture and the traditions and the overall political and social environment of Haiti. You don't have to be an expert on Haiti. All you have to know is that the United States evacuated non-essential personnel from the US embassy in Haiti, and that tells you that the situation is really rough. And there are troops there to increase security at the US embassy. So the United States of America is taking action regarding Haiti to protect the US Embassy personnel in Haiti. Maya Sisters is here. Maya Sisters writes, hello from Wisconsin. Maya Sisters, welcome to another live stream. It's good to see you here. We're talking about the situation in Haiti and violence in the Caribbean. And so, my friends, this is Haiti, right? But if you look at the overall picture of the world, you'll see that there's a lot of violence in the world right now. Lots of violence, lots of unrest, violence in the Caribbean, violence, tremendous violence in the Middle East, unrest in various places in Asia. And there's unrest in Europe too. And so the whole world is seeing violence, unrest, turmoil. And here in the United States, we are dealing with lots of problems internally. We don't have to look beyond the borders of the United States. Just look at what's going on in the country. There's rising crime, mass illegal immigration making our communities unsafe, and people are sick and tired of the economic uncertainty. Inflation is still not cooling. People are suffering. As I mentioned, there's crime, there's widespread homelessness, there's growing food insecurity. People are frustrated. And so overall, when you look at the world, it's hard to find peace. There is no peace. There's unrest. There's sadness. There's frustration. There's hunger. There's poverty. There's violence. This is what's going on in the world, my friends. And so anyway, here's what I want to say to the US citizens who are looking at traveling outside the country. I keep saying that US citizens must be very careful when traveling outside the country. No matter where you go, it's important to be very, very careful. Very, very careful. And it's best to avoid going to parts of the world where there's unrest and violence. Anytime there's some kind, some internal conflict, some civil war, whatever breaks out in a country, we worry. As Americans, we worry about the safety and security of the US citizens, okay? And I think it's time to have the same conversations about Haiti. How many US citizens are there in Haiti? Are they safe? Is there a plan to bring them back to US safely? What steps should US government take? There are so many important things that we have to think about. And so that's why I keep saying that US citizens, no matter where in the world you're traveling to, it's important to be very careful and pay attention to the travel advisories that the US State Department publishes. Yeah, look at the travel advisories. There are different levels. level 2, level 3, level 4. There are some countries where you have to be very careful when you travel, and then there are some countries where the government of US would tell you do not travel because it's risky. And so it's important for people to be informed about what's going on in different parts of the world and to be very careful. Because, like I said, there's growing unrest and violence in various parts of the world. Now, excuse me, I'm enjoying coffee at this hour. It is past 10:43 and I'm drinking coffee, my friends. I'm going to be up for quite a while now, I think. So let me just switch topics here for a little bit because I want to talk about Vermont, okay? Let's talk about Vermont. So my friends, I've talked about Vermont previously. When Nikki Haley won the primary in Vermont, I talked about the need to do an analysis to figure out what's going on in that state. If you remember, I said that. Because, on Super Tuesday, Donald Trump won so many states, but then Nikki Haley won Vermont. And I was just thinking, what's going on in Vermont? Why did the voters in Vermont choose Haley over Trump? Anyway, let's now talk about the U.S. Senator from Vermont. I mean, Vermont is a state that elected a socialist as a U.S. Senator. And I'm talking about Bernie Sanders. And so that's why I'm going to ask again, what's wrong with Vermont? What's going on there? Why do the Vermont voters vote for a socialist for U.S. Senate, Bernie Sanders? So there are various reasons why we need to look at Vermont and to see what the Vermont voters are thinking. We need to understand their political views. So anyway, let me tell you what the U.S. Senator from Vermont is doing. I'm gonna tell you something that Senator Sanders is working on. So Senator Bernie Sanders introduced legislation that would reduce the standard U.S. work week to 4 days without loss of pay. I want you to process that information. You heard that correctly. Senator Sanders introduced legislation that would reduce the standard U.S. work week to 4 days without loss of pay. Do you know what this legislation is called? Any idea? This legislation is called the 32-Hour Work Week Act. 32-Hour Work Week Act, not 40-Hour Work Week Act, okay? So instead of working 40 hours, people would work 32 hours. 32 hours. And this change would occur over the span of 4 years. And so when I read about this 32-Hour Work Week Act, you know what my first reaction is? I want to hear your first reaction. Tell me, what do you think about? What's your first reaction when you hear 32-Hour Work Week Act? When you hear that there's a legislation that has been introduced that's called the 32-Hour Work Week Act. My friend Terry is writing socialism. Terry, this legislation was introduced by a socialist, Bernie Sanders. So obviously, it's going to take people closer to socialism. I guess that's the goal of Senator Sanders. And so my first reaction, my friend Terry just said that her first reaction is socialism. What do you think of when I tell you that there's a legislation in Washington that's called the 32-Hour Work Week Act? You think it's socialism. My first reaction is, this does not sound good, okay? I'll keep it very simple. This is a bad idea. It does not sound good. It does not sound good. My friends, let me tell you, and you've probably heard it if you're paying attention to the economy, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, you've probably heard that there is a shortage of workers. There are many employers who are looking to hire, but they can't find workers. We've heard that. And now Bernie Sanders is trying to reduce the number of hours that people will have to work. And this is not helpful for the workers. It's not helpful for the employers. It's not helpful for the economy. It is not helpful. Now, I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you that I have not read the entire bill. I heard that there was a hearing on it, but I have not read the entire bill. And as people say, the devil's in the details. The devil's in the details. But I can tell you that Bernie's bill is not something that's going to help Americans. It's not going to help Americans. And at a time when work should be encouraged, Bernie is trying to make people work less. My friend Terry is writing, it's equal to raising the minimum wage. Yeah. See, that's what the Democrats were asking for a long time. They were saying, raise the minimum wage, make it $15 per hour. My friends, let me tell you, there are companies that are offering $18, $20, $22 per hour, and they're still struggling to find workers. And so I'm going to tell you one thing. I believe in the market forces, okay? I believe in the market forces. I think when government intervenes in the market and when government tries to set a minimum wage or increase the minimum wage, it really doesn't work well. You let the market work. Right now, the market is such that employers are willing to pay well over $15 per hour, okay? So the Democrats were trying to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour. Now private sector companies, they're offering $18, $20, $22 per hour, and that's still and they're still struggling to find workers. And on the other hand, let me tell you that a lot of workers are making well over $15 per hour. They're making $18 per hour. They're making $20 per hour. But they're still not being able to keep up with inflation. American workers may be earning $20 per hour, but they're still struggling to make ends meet. And this is the result of the liberals, poking their nose and intervening in the economy. The liberals, they encouraged reckless spending in Washington, and because of reckless spending, we now have inflation. Whereas the liberals were trying to push for $15 per hour minimum wage, now companies are offering over $15 per hour, and they're still struggling to find workers. And workers who are earning over $15 per hour, they're still not being able to make their ends meet. They're still struggling to keep up with the rising prices in the economy. So this whole system has been upset because of liberal policies. And that's why I keep saying that government should stay out of the free market and let the market forces work. Let me read some comments here. Maya Sisters is writing, it will start off with full-time classification with 32 hours, but it will morph into part-time without benefits. Instead of working one full-time 40-hour job, employees work two part-time jobs. See, this is how the liberals, Maya Sisters, you're right, this is how the liberals, they try to destabilize the economy. They try to destabilize the workforce. They try to destabilize the system that we have, the economic system. And so that's why I keep saying the liberals, they are the proponents of big government. The liberals love big government. But what we need in this country is small government. We need limited government. We want the government to stay out of the market, let the market forces work, demand and supply, let the labor market work in freely, and that's what will take us towards prosperity, peace and prosperity. But Bernie Sanders, he's a big socialist, and he is trying to increase government intervention in the private market. And so this bill, this 32-hour work week act, this is a ridiculous legislation. It's a bad idea. And I can tell you that this bill is not something that's going to help Americans. This bill will not help Americans. At a time when work should be encouraged, Bernie is trying to make people work less. And as Maya Sisters wrote, it will start off with full-time classification with 32 hours, but then it will end up being part-time job without benefits. And instead of working, and Maya Sisters, I'm reading your comment again, instead of working one full-time 40-hour job, employees work two part-time jobs. And so it's going to make the labor force unstable. And Bernie Sanders, let me tell you, at a time when work should be encouraged, Bernie is trying to make people work less. And I'm going to talk about something very important now. The liberals, they are pushing for illegal immigrants to work in the country. You've heard about the liberals trying to push for work permits. Have you heard that? I mean, the math doesn't add up, right? I mean, just pay close attention. On one hand, the liberals say that migrants should get work permits. The liberals are pushing for migrants to get work permits. And on the other hand, Bernie is trying to push for a 32-hour work week. It does not make sense. On one hand, the liberals tell you that we need workers, and that's why these migrants will be valuable addition in the economy because they'll work, and the liberals are trying to push the federal government to issue work permits for the migrants. So when you pay attention to that narrative, it seems that, oh, we desperately need workers and the migrants are here to help. But then on the other hand, Bernie Sanders is pushing for a 32-hour work week. He wants to reduce the number of hours that Americans work. This does not make sense. The question is, which one is it? Should we work more or should we work less? And I think that the liberals have a plan to displace the American workers. Laura Floyd is here. Laura, thank you for joining. It is good to see you, Laura. How are things in Texas, Laura? Everything okay in Texas? Please let us know. How's the weather in Texas? Here in Madison, Wisconsin, it rained all day. It rained all day. So anyway, as I was saying, I think the liberals have a plan to displace American workers by pushing a 32-hour work week for the American workers while bringing in illegal immigrants, and pushing them into the workforce. What are the liberals trying to do? I mean, I'm going to repeat it again. I want you to understand. I want you to pay close attention. On one hand, the liberals are bringing in illegal immigrants, and the liberals are advocating so that the illegal immigrants can get work permits so that they can work, because apparently American companies need workers. If that's true, then why is Bernie Sanders pushing a 32-hour work week? Why? Now, I think that this is the Democrats' plan to take away jobs from the American workers. Okay? This is my observation. The liberals, they are trying to take jobs away from American workers. They are trying to take income away from American workers. They are trying to make American workers poor. And they are trying to prioritize illegal immigrants. So this is all a very serious thing. This is all a very serious thing. You add up all the pieces, and it's very, very alarming, as I said. It's very alarming. On one hand, you've got the American workers, and Bernie is pushing for the American workers to work less. And then Bernie's Democrat colleagues are pushing for work permits for the illegal immigrants. And my friend Terry is writing, maybe it's just for votes. Terry, it is for votes. That's what the Democrats are trying to do. Remember, I told you, Chuck Schumer in 2022, Chuck Schumer pushed a proposal. He proposed that there should be a pathway for illegal immigrants to become citizens. That's what the Democrats want. At the end of the day, they are going to advocate for a pathway to citizenship for illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, undocumented immigrants, illegals. So the Democrats, they have crafted a plan. They are going to displace American workers. They are going to take income away from American workers. They are going to push for work permits for the illegal immigrants. They are going to push for citizenship for the illegal immigrants. And American workers will be pushed into a life of poverty, while the illegal immigrants will take away our jobs, will take away our incomes. And what's going to happen? We're already seeing that. Terry writes, so they are redistributing income. That's what it seems like, Terry. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. The liberals, they want to take away incomes from the American people. And they want to give more benefits and more resources to the illegal immigrants. And this 32-hour work week, this is part of that plan. And that's why Bernie Sanders is pushing for this, to displace American workers. Terry writes, we all will be poor. Yes, that's the plan. If the liberals succeed, then we're going to be poor. Okay? The liberals are pushing our country towards poverty. Let me see what Laura wrote. Laura wrote, cloudy day in San Antonio. Tomorrow I drive to see my dad, who only 30 minutes from border of Mexico. I have to inform my dad of how to be safe with the illegals roaming. Laura, I hope that you have a good and safe trip to where your dad lives. I hope you get to spend some nice time with your father. And you highlighted something very important, Laura. You highlighted the fact that the border communities of the United States, the people there, they are suffering. The border communities are suffering because of illegal immigration. When migrants enter the United States and they roam about on the streets, it just disrupts the border communities. The border communities are American communities, my friends. The people who live in El Paso, the people who live in Brownsville, the people who live in communities along the border, close to the border, whether it's 30 minutes from the border or an hour from the border, people who live in the regions along the border, they are American people. They are our fellow American citizens, and they are suffering because of Biden administration's open border policies. And so, as Laura wrote, it's important to be safe. because illegal immigration is making the border communities unsafe. Illegal immigration is making every community unsafe. And you may have heard this before. Every American state is now a border state. I mean, look at New York. New York is so far away from the southern border, but that state has become a border state because of the influx of illegal immigrants. Here in Wisconsin, I mentioned this to you before, that in Whitewater, Wisconsin, there are illegal immigrants who are coming. So Whitewater, Wisconsin is so far away from the southern border. But Wisconsin has become a border state. You go to Whitewater, Wisconsin, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll know what I'm talking about if you go to Whitewater, Wisconsin. And so every American state is now a border state because since 2021, millions and millions and millions of illegal immigrants have entered our country, and they're spreading all over the United States. If you live in a peaceful community, in a peaceful village or town, in rural Wisconsin, in rural Minnesota, and you think that your community is not going to be disrupted, well, the migrants are spreading all over the United States, and no community is going to be, is going to, what I'm trying to say is every community is going to see the impacts of illegal immigration. And so Laura writes, I'm very concerned. We're living in serious times. Absolutely, Laura, that's what's happening. We are all very concerned, and that's why it's important to pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on in Washington. Pay attention to what the politicians are doing, what the liberals are up to. And if you pay attention, then you're going to know about stuff like this 32-hour work week act. This is ridiculous. How many people know about this? How many people do you think are paying attention and they know about this new legislation that Bernie introduced? A lot of people, they probably don't know. And that's why I'm trying to raise awareness. I'm trying to highlight the things that need to be discussed. I'm trying to point things out, important things, actions that the liberals are taking to basically take away our freedom. And this is an example. 32-hour work week. If anyone thinks that it sounds good, let me tell you, it does not sound good. It's a bad idea. And the more the government intervenes in the economy, the more we lose our freedom. There's an inverse relationship. There's an inverse relationship. The more the government grows in size, the less freedom we will have. Inverse relationship. So government intervention goes up, government control goes up, the size of government goes up, and freedom goes down. And if you want to protect your freedom, then we need limited government. We need the government to stay out of the marketplace. Stay out of the market. Let the market forces work. Let demand and supply determine wages and prices in the economy. My friend Terry is writing, I had not heard about the 32-hour, and you're referring to this legislation, and I watch news all day. Terry, exactly. Exactly. You may be paying attention, you may be watching TV, but there are things that happen in Washington that don't get news coverage. There are so many things. There are so many things I want to discuss, and sometimes I just think that, if I want to discuss all the things that I want to discuss with you during my live stream, then I'm going to be live streaming for hours. Most of the day I'm live streaming for 1 hour approximately. But if we want to discuss all the events and all the important happenings in any given 24-hour period, I'm going to have to talk for 2 or 3 hours at least. Because there are so many things that are happening in our state, whatever state you live in our state, in our community, whatever community you live in our country, in Washington, D.C. I mean, this new legislation, there was a hearing on this new legislation. How many people know about this? I had to scan through all the news updates and I found this out. And I thought this is something that people need to know about. So Laura is writing the under 30, the TikTok generation would vote for the 32-hour work week, part-time, and probably vote Bernie if they could. Well, Laura, let me tell you, this 32-hour work week act, and the way this legislation has been named, it seems like, oh, you're gonna make the same amount of money and work less. You're gonna save 8 hours. And so for some people it might sound tempting, but let me tell you, it's not. Because what this is it's an example of how the government intervenes in the market. And when the government intervenes, there are losses. There are losses, okay? There are losses. If we want to prosper, then we need limited government. This 32-hour work week, it's not going to help. Even those who think that it's going to help, it's not. It's not going to help anyone. And so let me tell you, 32-hour work week act, it sounds tempting to a lot of people. And this is what Democrats do. They are very good at coming up with fancy terms and fancy names, and they twist language. They come up with words to make things sound interesting. So the Democrats, they take their bad and awful policies and they package them and give it fancy names. So one example that I've mentioned before, I'm going to mention it again here. And I actually talked about this. I mentioned the example that I'm going to share with you now. I mentioned this example during my two recent speeches. I gave a speech at Grant County Republican Party's Lincoln Day Luncheon, and then I also spoke at an event organized by Informed Women in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And during both those speeches, I used this example. And this shows you how the Democrats, they package their they use language to make awful things sound nice, all right? So, first example, whenever Border Patrol apprehends illegal immigrants, it's called an apprehension, right? I mean, that's the word we use, apprehension. The Border Patrol apprehends illegal immigrants at the southern border, it's called apprehension. But then the Biden administration started calling it encounter rather than apprehension. Encounter. Okay? Rather than Border Patrol apprehending illegal immigrants, now they are encountering illegal immigrants. And then, most recently, what the administration is doing is it's moving away from the words illegal immigrants and illegal aliens. And so now the Biden administration calls the illegal immigrants newcomers. I mean, think about it. Think about the two headlines. Okay, let me give you a headline, for example. The first headline: Border Patrol apprehends 1,000 illegal aliens at the southern border. That's headline number one. Border Patrol apprehends 1,000 illegal aliens at the southern border. It's a serious issue. It sounds serious. 1,000 illegal aliens, Border Patrol, apprehension. But then, if you follow the new words that the liberals came up with, the same headline is going to be switched into something else. Rather than saying Border Patrol apprehends 1,000 illegal aliens at the southern border, now the headline is going to sound like Border Patrol encounters 1,000 newcomers at the southern border. See how the liberals, they try to soften the whole thing. They look at this serious issue of border crossing, illegal immigration, and apprehension, and they try to tone it down to, oh, newcomers are entering the United States, these foreign nationals are newcomers, and the border patrol encountered them. No, it's not an encounter, it's an apprehension. And those individuals who illegally cross into the United States, they are not newcomers, they're illegal immigrants, they're illegal aliens. And so the liberals, they play with words, and they try to twist things, and they try to soften the narrative, and they try to play with language to make things sound nice in their favor. So the truth is the truth. What's happening at the southern border, it's illegal border crossing, it's illegal immigration. The folks who are coming in, they're illegal immigrants, they're illegal aliens. And when Border Patrol apprehends them, it's called an apprehension. It's an apprehension. It's not an encounter. And those individuals are not newcomers. They're illegal immigrants. They're illegal aliens. So, my friends, as I was saying, there are so many things that are happening in this country, in this world. It's hard to cover everything, and there are so many things we need to talk about. And so I'm going to emphasize once again, we have to try to stay informed as much as possible. And this is going to be very important, especially as we are heading into the November 2024 election. As we're heading towards the November 2024 election. So my friend Terry is writing, were you politically this conservative growing up? Or did you learn all this when you came here? Well, Terry, very interesting question, Terry. Very interesting question. And, when I do my presentations, when I talk about my childhood and how I grew up, my education and what school I went to, what I learned growing up, when I talk about my life, and I've done quite a few of those presentations, Terry, you probably know about those. And some of the videos are also available on my YouTube channel. And in particular, I did a presentation on March 12th, which was Tuesday. I did a presentation at a luncheon organized by Informed Women in Green Bay, where I talked about my life, my childhood, and how I grew up, and my journey so far. So Terry, the question that you asked, this is something that I usually cover during some of those speeches, but I'm glad you asked the question during a live stream. So I'm gonna give you a short answer, okay? And I can talk in details in the future. So, being a conservative or a liberal, it's not just about picking a political party. It's not just about trying to decide, okay, are you going to be a Republican or a Democrat? See, I grew up in Bangladesh. That's where I was born and raised. Bangladesh, I think the estimates say that it's a country of 167 million people, approximately. I mean, it's a huge population. It's a small country geographically, but the population is very big. I mean, look at the U.S. population. It's something around 330 million, I think, right? U.S. population. I may be off by a couple millions, give or take, but approximately it's 330 million people in the United States. And in Bangladesh, it's approximately 167 million. So it's like, what, like half of US population? That's the size of the Bangladeshi populations. It's a very densely populated country. And the city where I was born and raised, the city of Dhaka, it's a very densely populated city. So I did not grow up as a Republican or as a Democrat, because I grew up in a very different political system. In Bangladesh, there's parliamentary form of government. It's a totally different system, how the government works. The constitution is different, and it's just a different environment. It's not the Republican versus Democrat. It's not the same format in Bangladesh. But what makes me a conservative are my values. My values my principles, the principles that I learned growing up, the principles that my mother taught me. These are the things that make me who I am. And so after I came to the United States, I didn't have to sit down and decide if I'm going to be a Democrat or a Republican. I didn't have to sit down and decide. I didn't draw a line dividing a page, and I didn't write down all the Democrat values and principles and all the Republican values and principles, and I didn't sit and think, okay, what am I? Am I on this side or that side? No, that wasn't it. That's not how it worked. Because I grew up with certain values, certain principles. As I said, my mother raised me in a certain way, and from her, I learned certain values, certain principles. And so when I came to the United States, it was very obvious that I'm a conservative because I am pro-life. I believe in life. I believe in the Second Amendment. Okay? So my position on the issue of life, I'm pro-life. And so, what party is pro-life? The Republicans are pro-life. The conservatives are pro-life. And, the Second Amendment, the right to protect yourself, the right to self-defense, which party supports the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms? It's the Republican Party. The conservatives support the Second Amendment because we see that the liberals are always trying to take away people's Second Amendment rights. We see that all the time. They're trying to take away people's Second Amendment rights. And so, after I came to the US, it was pretty obvious to me that I am a conservative. That's how I was raised. My beliefs, my principles make me a conservative. And that's why I'm a conservative. I'm a strong Republican. And whatever I say from my heart. I believe in freedom. I follow the Constitution. I follow the laws of the United States. I'm a law-abiding individual. And, I believe in limited government. I believe in limited government and more freedom. And I believe that we have to protect our constitutional rights. Susan is here. Susan writes hello. Thank you, Susan, for joining the live stream. I really appreciate you being here. And Maya sisters and Terry, they are both welcoming Susan by saying hello. And Laura is applauding. Thank you, Laura. Thank you so very much. It's always such a pleasure, doing these live streams. I really enjoy sharing my thoughts, my views, and I really enjoy hearing from you. And I love the fact that you all tune in for my live streams and you take the time out of your schedule to discuss with me a number of issues, and you write your comments, you write your questions. And, this is what's great about our country. We have the freedom to express our views. We have the freedom to share what's on our mind. And, there are parts of the world where the freedom of speech does not exist, or it's greatly restricted. And so we are very, very blessed to be in the United States. We are very blessed to be Americans. And in this great country, we have the right to share what's on our mind. We have freedom of speech. Without freedom of speech, there is no country, there is no society. And so, my friends, what I do is I exercise my First Amendment right to free speech. And that's why I write letters to editors. I write op-eds. I write blog posts. And I publish podcast episodes on a number of topics, social and political issues, both domestic and international. And I believe in my freedom of speech, which is why I do these live streams. And I know you believe in freedom of speech, which is why you all tune in, which is why you all join and share with me your thoughts. And we will continue doing it. And we have to protect our First Amendment right to free speech. We have to protect our rights. We have to protect our freedom. And we have to continue to talk about the issues that are pressing, that are important. So let me look at the chat window here. Maya Sisters is writing, apprehensions have criminal connotations. Biden administration has redefined actions. For example, Biden refuses to use the word recession to describe the economy. Well, the Biden administration can refuse to use the words illegal immigration, illegal immigrant, illegal alien. It doesn't change the fact that it is illegal immigration. The folks who are entering the United States illegally, they are illegal immigrants. They are illegal aliens. The Biden administration can call them newcomers. They are not newcomers. They are illegal immigrants. And the Biden administration can call it encounter. It's not encounter. It's apprehension. And as Maya Sisters wrote, recession, the recession is really, I mean, a lot of people believe, a lot of experts believe that we are in recession. I mean, you don't have to listen to an economist. I mean, of course, there are specific technical descriptions of what a recession is, what a depression is. If you are a student of economics and you study economics, and so you know the details of when recession happens. How do you define a recession? How do you define a depression? But as an average American consumer, you can just feel recession. You go to the grocery store, you look at the prices, you can tell that there's inflation. And you look at gas price, you know that we're facing problems. And there are so many other problems. There's overall economic uncertainty, and people are suffering. When you see senior citizens, people in their 70s, in their 80s, they're going out and they're looking for jobs just to make ends meet, because whatever income they have in retirement, it's not enough, and they're running out of money at the end of the month, and they don't have the dollars in their pockets to pay for their utility, to buy food, and to pay for car insurance premiums. I mean, people have lots of expenses, and the expenses keep going up, but people don't have enough income to keep up with those expenses. And so that's why you see a lot of senior citizens, they're going out again, they're looking for work just to earn some extra money to keep up with the rising prices in the economy. So if you talk to individuals like that, it doesn't matter what technical term you use, if it's recession or not. They are suffering. Americans understand. They understand every day that they're struggling, they're suffering. And so it doesn't matter what an economist tells you. It doesn't matter what the Biden administration tells you, whether they call it a recession or not. It's a recession in the life of that individual who's suffering financially. So Terry is writing, what do you think of the TikTok bill passed in the House? Terry, very, very important and very, very interesting question. The TikTok bill that passed the House. I have been paying attention to that, Terry. And let me tell you that I'm reading arguments on both sides. I'm reading arguments for and against that legislation. I'm reading arguments in favor of TikTok ban, and I'm reading arguments against TikTok ban. I'm reading both sides, and it's a complex issue. It is a complex issue, and I think, Terry, that I think I may need a little bit more time. I think where I stand on the issue. I do know where I stand on the issue, but I think that I'm going to need more time to reveal my position and to give you concrete reasons for why I feel the way I feel on that issue, on that legislation. So, Terry, if I may ask you to wait a little bit, would you be okay with that? I'll just wait a little bit, give me some more time, and I'll share with you, hopefully, my views on this TikTok ban legislation that passed in the House of Representatives. So we're going to talk about it, hopefully, during a future live stream. So Susan writes, um, when the government figures the economic situation, they don't count gasoline or food or utilities. They use the stock market. But Susan, the government, they can use whatever metrics they want to come up with whatever numbers they want. But Susan, you and I both know that Americans are suffering. You know, those who go out and they buy groceries, those who go to the gas station and they pump gas, those who have to pay for heat, for electricity, we understand that the economy is bad. We understand that. And so, that's what I'm trying to highlight. And Susan, I it's like, you have heard me talk about these before, and you've shared your views with me, Susan. So we both know that the economy is doing bad. So no matter how the Biden administration tries to spin this, no matter how they try to sugarcoat it, the reality is that the economy is not good. There's growing uncertainty. There are financial challenges. American families are struggling. American seniors are struggling. Many American children are living in poverty. And now, as I just discussed, Bernie Sanders and the liberals, his liberal colleagues, they are trying to replace American workers with this 32-hour work week act. They are trying to displace American workers, and they are trying to push illegal immigrants into the workforce. They are advocating for work permits for the illegals, but they are trying to reduce the number of hours that American citizens would work. And so I think people understand, people are paying attention, people, one of the things I'll do is I'll highlight the issues that need to be discussed on this channel. So I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate all of your support. So, my friends, thank you all for joining. We're approaching the 60-minute mark here very soon. We're past the 57-minute mark. I'll try to keep this live stream to 1 hour. And, from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to have to say this. I thank each and every one of you, for tuning in and watching my live stream and for participating. Kevin McMillan, you indicated that this is your first time joining this live stream. Kevin McMillan, thank you so much for joining, and I hope that you'll come back and join more live streams. My friend Terry from South Dakota, she has been an enormous supporter, and she continues to be an enormous supporter of this channel. And my friend Terry, she's always trying to tune in and participate in the discussion. Maya Sisters from Wisconsin, Maya Sisters, I appreciate you being here and for participating. And Laura from Texas, Laura Floyd, thank you so much always for joining the live stream and for sharing your thoughts and your views. And I really hope that you have a wonderful trip when you visit your father, and stay healthy and stay safe, Laura Floyd. And who else has joined today? Susan, thank you always for tuning in to watch my live stream and for your comments on my videos. I appreciate that very, very much. So Terry writes, good night, Maya. Maya Sisters is saying good night, Terry. Laura writes, thank you too. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you for tuning in. And please, if you have not watched the video of my speech in Green Bay, that video is 1 hour, 13 minutes long. Please watch that video. I delivered a PowerPoint presentation at a luncheon organized by Informed Women in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I talked about my journey from Bangladesh to the United States and how I became a US citizen. I talked about the border crisis. I talked about the differences between legal and illegal immigration. I talked about what we need to do to combat illegal immigration, what steps our local leaders need to take, and many other things. So that video is available on YouTube. Go to my channel, look up that video. It's 1 hour, 13 minutes long approximately. You don't have to watch it all at once. Watch the first half hour. Then, when you have time again, watch the second half hour. You can split it up. Just, please watch it and share that video. That's an important video. I was up on stage at a podium doing a PowerPoint presentation, answering questions from the audience. So please watch that video and share it with your friends, share it with your neighbors, your coworkers, your colleagues, your friends, your family members. Share it with people who may have an interest in learning about the truth. Okay, the truth is the foundation, my friends. The truth is the foundation. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to spread the truth. My friends, thank you all. You all are freedom-loving Americans. I'm a proud American, a freedom-loving American, and I appreciate your support. And I hope to see you all during a future live stream. So thank you, my friends. Thank you for joining. I hope you have a wonderful night. God bless America. And I'll be back again with a new live stream and more videos soon. Thank you. Have a good night.